It's Holly. So I wanted to post a little bit about my experience with chronic fatigue. For those of you who don't know, chronic fatigue is a really debilitating illness that hasn't really had enough recognition in Australia or in the world. Yeah, it's been pretty devastating for me. Chronic fatigue doesn't really explain what it's like. It's a they call it that because it's like a cluster of symptoms, and they don't really know how to define it because it is so many symptoms. So yeah, so chronic fatigue usually lasts for a long time, but not always. I started getting ill when I was around 16 after I had glandular fever, and after that I felt more tired. I couldn't play sport as well. I noticed exhaustion. When I went out and drank, the next day I would just feel horrendous, even if I just drank like 2 beers or something. The next day would be like a complete write-off. I couldn't do homework. I couldn't do any exercise. My brain wouldn't function. I wouldn't really know where I was. So that happened from 17 to 18, getting progressively worse. It also affected my sleep. I couldn't sleep very well, but I was tired during the day. The first half of the week after going out was like, I had no idea what was going on really. I was just trying to get through high school. After the HSC, things got worse because when you don't have a structure, that structure kind of held things together for me. So, yeah, the weeks after high school, I started to go out more, and because I was going out more, I was having less rest. So I was going out during the week as well and trying to keep up with my friends, which was ridiculous. So, every time I drank the next day, I would just feel worse, and so I'd end up drinking the next night, and it would get progressively worse until I'd have like 5 days unable to do anything. Because I was such a really stubborn person, I went overseas regardless, even though some days I could barely function. I had my symptoms that increased having quite intense insomnia, but also having extreme exhaustion, extreme unable to work out, like unable to concentrate on things, loss of memory, headaches, feeling generally really groggy and out of it. Like you have something called brain fog, whereas you feel like you're in the world but you can't quite reach it. And then I also had a lot of stomach pain, a lot of digestion issues, and then so once overseas it was absolutely no routine. I got worse. I got to the point where I had to lie down in the street. I wasn't going out with people. So eventually, after collapsing in Croatia a few times, I came home. That flight, I literally thought I was going to die. I could not work out where I was. I felt sick. I felt like I was going to vomit. I had constant pain everywhere. By the time I got back, I was like, oh yeah, sweet, things are going to get better, and I started to see doctors, but I realized after seeing a few doctors that no one actually knew what was going on. I thought, oh yeah, I might have a flu or something wrong with my vitamins, my electrolytes, my potentially something going on neurologically. Maybe I had a form of depression, but yeah, things kept getting worse. I eventually could not socialize, only made it to doctor's appointments, and then eventually I could not really leave the house. I stopped talking to people because it was really hard to explain, and I was like actually very embarrassed. I had never seen myself as a sick person. I'd always seen myself as incredibly capable. I was very isolated, and by the time I was 20, the time I was 21, I had become completely bedridden. I could not walk. I could not talk at times. I was spoon-fed food. I was unable to roll myself. So my parents helped roll me and move my arms and legs so I didn't get bed sores. I was unable to go to the toilet. I had to use a bedpan. I had to use a straw to drink. Sometimes people had to pour water and vitamins into my mouth. I lived constantly in a dark room. I could not handle light. I could not handle people talking around me. I could not handle talking. I could not handle anything. Reading, TV, way beyond me. I could not sit up. I could barely move any of my limbs. And when I did, I got worse. So I got a lot worse. Eventually, I couldn't wash my hair. I had no shower for 2 years. People washed me down. I couldn't brush my hair. I couldn't wash my face. I constantly stank because I had really poor hygiene. Got all kinds of infections because of the low hygiene and the living conditions. I didn't see outside for 2 years. So eventually I was taken by ambulance to a hospital. I had an eye mask on. People looked at me like some kind of freak. I arrived there. I was moved around by a hospital bed. I was bedpanned. I had all kinds of tests. I had people carrying me to different places on trolleys to get all different tests. I had CAT scans. I had earplugs in constantly because of the sound level and sensitivity. I was spoon-fed there. Eventually I went into rehab, which we hoped would be successful, but wasn't. It was very painful. And eventually I got some benefits, so I was able to sit up in a wheelchair for a few seconds. And then if the wheelchair was pushed, I could get to the toilet. So that's where I was at. And I left hospital when I was 22 and a bit. No, 23 and a bit. And I am now 25. It's my birthday 2 days ago. So since then, I still can't walk. I do use a wheelchair, but it's electric. At times I can sit up for an hour or two. I am still housebound. I barely socialize. I'm highly isolated, and I have long periods where I can't talk, can't move, can't look at light, definitely can't use the computer. It's an extremely painful existence. It's an extremely painful illness. And I feel like there's way too little awareness and way too little help. And I guess I'm putting this out there because I know all over the world there are people in my situation. And I want to reach people. I feel really compassionate for people at my level, people at worse levels, and people at better levels. It's a mind fuck, pretty much. So I just wanted to share that, and I hope that we can get a little bit more awareness. I don't really know how. Maybe just videos like these. I'm not really sure. I did look into something called Canary in a Coal Mine, which I would really like to see happen. I'm not sure if it is. I think it's run by Jenny B. I don't know. And that's a documentary on how severe chronic fatigue can be, how intense it can be. So, yeah, I'm just putting this out there, and if anyone wants to respond or let me know how they are feeling, let me know, if this resonates with them. Okay. That's pretty much it. And yes. Okay. Thank you.